Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm an artist, art teacher, just somebody who generally likes to make a lot of things. So I thought I would start this little podcast because who knows, maybe there's other people out there who want to talk about knitting and crochet and making in general. And so I'm excited to kind of chat with you guys today and tell you about what I've been making, what I've been up to. I'm actually really excited today because we are starting to get some spring weather here in Ontario, Canada. So that's super exciting. It's a nice sunny day outside. I might want to start with what I'm wearing. So I am wearing a little crochet tank top that I made last summer, and it's made, here, I'll just stand up here and show you. It's a little cropped tank. I generally wear it with a shirt underneath because it is made from alpaca, which is a soft yarn, but this is maybe a bit more of a rustic alpaca. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to show you here. And so I find it a little itchy against the skin. So I actually am in the process of remaking a similar tank top with a merino yarn that I was going to show you guys today. And yeah, anyway, I made this last summer. And it's made from a rustic alpaca that is from a local farmer here in Fergus. So that was pretty cool. I went to the Fergus Fibre Festival last May and found these cute little balls of the greatest colors of alpaca yarn. And so I was really excited to knit something with them. So this is what I chose to knit. It's a fingering weight yarn, beautifully dyed. I got a whole bunch of little tiny mini skeins and turned it into this tank. And the tank has these dark green straps. Yeah, you can see the back is like that too. So anyway, that's what I'm wearing today. And so just a little bit about me. I started my love for crochet not too long ago, probably about a year and a half ago. And I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I have a very obsessive personality. So when I decide I'm going to learn something, I dive right in. So we're talking like hours and hours spent crocheting. And so I did that for about a year, and then I was like, I want to try knitting. And so I had tried knitting in the past. I never had anyone in my family who was really a crocheter, a knitter, so I didn't learn from family like so many people tend to do. Instead, I was really inspired by a friend of mine who's a really great crocheter and knitter. And so I had great support from her and then from my local yarn store as well. And so I just kind of dove in and again, got really obsessed with it. So from my perspective that I'm coming with you guys is I'm pretty new at these fiber art forms. So it's not something I've been doing my whole life. As an artist, I've tended to be more of a painter. I love all mediums, printmaking, digital art, definitely painting and drawing, sculpture, clay, working with pottery, all sorts of things. So I dabble in a little bit of everything, which probably some of you guys can relate to as well, whatever kind of gets you excited in the moment. But definitely for me, fiber arts has played a huge important role in my life over the last year and a half. So that's what I'm excited to mostly talk to you about in this video today. So what I'd maybe start to talk about is what I'm currently working on. So I'm working on a lot of things, which is unlike me in the beginning. So when I first started crocheting or even knitting not too long ago, I would stick to doing one project at a time. So got really obsessed with just, focusing on that one project, start to finish, wouldn't allow myself to start something new until I finished the project, which was good in terms of being able to get things done and move along, and probably good for learning as well. What it wasn't as good for, I think, is just mental states of mind. So sometimes, if you're really frustrated with a project, if I was really frustrated, I would have to really force myself to do that project, and it wasn't always a fun experience. And I truly believe that we should be having fun when we're doing our art projects. So I kind of started to experiment with putting multiple things on my needles, having lots of WIPS, lots of things I'm working on at the same time. So that's what I've been doing lately. So I thought I would show you some of the things I'm working on. So right now, I cast it on recently. Actually, I feel like I'm definitely in a scarf shawl phase. So I have a lot of scarves and shawls to show you today. But one of the cowls that I'm currently working on is by Andrea Mowry. And this is my first pattern I've ever done of hers. So I'm super excited about it because I have been following her and watching her for quite a while now. And it's a really beautiful, like squishy fabric. So this is her traveler's cowl. And as you can see, I haven't done a lot of it yet. I think I got through part 1. And so I've just kind of now added on, if anyone's familiar with the cowl, the shape of it, I'm now adding on some extra stitches to the end, and I'm going to start doing more of the flat sides. And so typical me, I think that I was like super motivated to start this because it was also my first time using spin cycle yarns. And so I picked up 3 skeins of this yarn in the color Ranunculus, I think that's what it's called. And it looks so different in the skein than when obviously you wind it up in the ball. But what's so fun about it for people that haven't played around with it before, or I might be like the only person in the world who hasn't, is that it's got these like surprising color changing qualities to it. And each ball itself, or each, I should say, like the twist that's in the yarn itself has 2 colors. So the 2 plies there are 2 different colors, and that's consistent throughout the entire ball. So it's made this really cool color fading yarn, which is very much more rainbow than I expected it to be, but I think it's still beautiful. And then I really like Andrea's pattern because I like the squishiness of this garter stitch that we have going on with the knit stitches in between. So it's cool. I just need to keep going on it. So typical me, I think what happened was that I understood the pattern. I was proud of myself for that. So that was no longer a challenge. And then I understood how the yarn was working up. So that was cool. And then I was like, okay, I'm good now. I'll just put it aside for a little bit. So I got to get back to it because it is a lot of fun. The other thing that I'm currently working on is a bit related to, now I just have to find everything. I wasn't fully prepared. Okay, I'll show you something else first. The other knitting project I'm working on is called the 9 p.m. tank, and I apologize, I forget the designer, but I'll make sure that I put it in the description. And for this one, I'm using Knitting for Olive's Pure Silk in the color Cream. So it's just 1 strand of fingering weight pure silk, and I've never knit or crocheted actually with silk before. And so yeah, it's been interesting. Maybe I'll talk about the yarn first and then talk about the actual project. But in terms of working with silk, I would say not 100% my favorite. I definitely prefer like a merino wool, for example, would be my #1 choice of something to knit with, because it has still a bit of scratchiness to it. I don't know what I was really expecting with silk. I think I was thinking it would be maybe a bit softer. So yeah, but after a while, like getting used to it a little bit, it's not as bad as I thought. So it's a little slippery, but yet it's a little bit rough. So that seems kind of like that's a bit of an oxymoron, but those are just my observations. And I guess the one thing I don't like about it is that I was very critical of my knitting in the beginning because, and I'm going to show you guys up close, it looks really uneven. Now it hasn't been blocked, it's still on the needles, but do you see how the stitches just don't look super, super even? And I talked to some expert knitters in 2 knitting stores, actually, my 2 favorite stores, and they say that's normal. So apparently it's not me, or they're just making me feel better, but apparently it's pretty normal for this to look a little bit more irregular, and blocking it will hopefully help a bit. So I don't know, it doesn't like poof up and kind of like hide those irregularities as much as some other yarns might. In terms of the actual pattern, it is definitely a challenge for me as a relatively new knitter, although I think that anybody who's experienced would not find it that challenging. I'm glad that I did a lot of projects with I-cord edges for some of the shawls I've made, because that really prepared me for what was happening with this tank top. So the tank top itself is just a simple stockinette, and once you get to a certain point, you start working in the round. So I was happily working in the round up until this point, but the pattern does suggest that you stop and go back and add the straps so that you can adjust for length, which is smart. And at first I was like, no, I finally made it to the easy part and I don't want to, but I forced myself to stop and then start on the straps. So that's what I've been working on. And so the straps are made with like an I-cord kind of edging to it. It's double knit, which is something I have never done before. I guess it's not really I-cord, it's double knit. And it's definitely creating a really nice looking border, but it is time consuming for me. So I just feel like I just want to get this tank top done, you know, like I have the front and the back part finished at the top. And then what you do is you pick up your stitches along your armpit, and then you start doing your edging from the middle of the armpit so that the seam will be covered, which is very genius. And then I guess you just keep knitting the strap. So as you guys can see, this is the front here. And so the strap will keep knitting around and eventually end up at the armpit, which is why you have to try it on as you go and figure out the length. So that's my job right now, is just knitting this edge. And one thing is sometimes my needle will fly off because of the slipperiness of this yarn and probably just my technique in general. And so, I mean, it's taught me a lot of things, because it is difficult, again, for me to put stitches of this kind back on if anything slips off. So there's been a few times where I've had to frog it back to a point where I can kind of see the stitches a little bit better to be able to put them back on in the right order. So yeah, it's been the right kind of challenge where I'm learning a lot, but it's not so challenging that I'm frustrated. So I'm excited to have this knit up because we are getting into some nicer weather. So I think this could be a really nice spring summer top to wear with a lot of outfits. So this is exciting. So that one's going well. I have some other things to show you in terms of works in progress. One is not super exciting right now, but for a friend who has two little babies, two twins, twins. She's always admired, I guess, online. She's seen this game where it's a matching game where there's these little baby crochet turtles that fit inside a mama turtle, and then on the bellies of the little baby turtles there are different colors, so then the kids will match up the colors and then they can store everything inside of the mama turtle. So I wish I would have brought the babies to show you. They are actually at my work right now, so because this is a colleague of mine, so I left her with the little baby turtles. I've made two so far. They're pretty cute. I'll make sure that I take photos and put them up here. But this is just, I know this isn't exciting, this is just a circle, but this is the mama turtle's belly. So I'm gonna keep working on that this week. And this is made from Katia's 100% Merino. It's a DK weight, and it was leftover yarn from a variety of projects that I've done in the past. I used this a lot for some of my crochet sweaters that I've made. It's beautiful. It's a superwash yarn. It's so soft and nice to work with. And so it comes in really nice colors. And so these are gonna be the bougiest little turtles that you've ever seen in your life, because they're all made of merino. So when I get going more on the turtles, if people are interested, I can show you more than just this not very exciting piece here. Okay, the other thing I'm working on, and this is where I say I'm disorganized because I need to find it. Oh, hold on. I just remembered where it was. And this can kind of lead into, maybe we'll talk about acquisitions as well. So that's nothing. Let's see. I have been working on these little boho sunburst granny squares, and I love the colors. Look how beautiful. And I made too many. I actually don't need to use them all. I think I'm only going to use 6 and I have 8 here. So I got to decide which 2 I'm not using for this project. But it is going to be the version of this tank that myself, and so you can see it's slightly bigger. This one will be less cropped. This one's going to be longer. Myself and my friend have been working on a pattern that we just released. So it just got released yesterday actually in our Ravelry store and also on our website under Le Fil Studio if anyone's interested in the pattern. And we have been creating these tops or versions of these tops for a long time now. Like I said, we started last summer. So this was one version of the top, but we've really refined it in our pattern and added a few more details to it. We talk about different sizing options, how to kind of make the straps. The ones in the pattern are actually a little bit different than the ones I'm wearing here. And so I'm making a merino version with our new pattern. And my friend's already made a million of them. So I'll pop up some of those pictures of the ones she's made. And they are absolutely gorgeous. Showing the pattern in a variety of different yarns too. It's really versatile because I feel like it's a great stash busting project, because you just need fingering weight yarns and you don't need a whole bunch of your colors. So whatever colors you choose, I would say you would need a minimum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. Although in these squares, I actually have a 6th color, so I can play around a little bit more with color. So basically you know, anywhere between 5 and 10 colors would be fine. And you can kind of just rotate the colors as you please. You could also repeat colors. You could have less than that too. It's very, very versatile. And then you would just need a skein of something that is a little bit more neutral if you want to go in that direction. So I've chosen, these are all knitting for olive colors. And again, if I was more organized, I'd have the exact colors for you, but I'll show you the balls that are wound up here. So there's this beautiful mustardy color here. I know this one was called Flamingo. I absolutely can remember the name of this one because I love that name. Flamingo is this really cool, bright, peachy pink color. I also have 2 different colors of green. One of them I believe is artichoke, probably this one. Gorgeous. There's also a beautiful purple and a beautiful baby light blue. And then this is my base. So it's this nice beigey color. So the knitting for olive merino is really perfect for this pattern because it's super nice to work with. It's so soft. It'll I think wear really well, but I also think the colors are just so gorgeous. So I had a lot of fun making these granny squares for the millionth time. I've made them for other projects as well. So I have a variety of bags. Maybe in a future podcast, I could show you guys some of the bags I've worked on with them. I've made them a million times and I never get sick of making them because they're just so fun. I think it's because what I like about crocheting with granny squares is that variety of the color changing. So you just do one little section and then you're like, okay, I'm done that. And then it's kind of addictive. You want to go on and change colors and do the next. What's not so fun is weaving in all the ends, but I have over the last little while kind of refined my process a little bit to be able to do that more quickly and more efficiently as I go as well. So that's something we could talk about maybe in a future tutorial or just chatting about it. But yeah, these are my granny squares that I've just started. So the next step is to sew them together. They're going to be the base, of course, of the top. And then we're going to work from bottom up to the point where we want to create our length. So it'll basically be like a tube top. And then the last step will be attaching the straps. So that's another WIP and acquisition with the knitting for olive. Another acquisition, let's see, what do I have? Oh, this one is going to be for those turtles I just mentioned. So I'm gonna try to use up my stash of Katia yarns, but I needed to buy more of this color here, which is what are you called? pistachio. So this is a pistachio. It's really beautiful. So this is going to be the shell color of all the turtles. So I only had a little bit of it left over in my stash, so I just picked up another ball so that we could have more of it. And then on the topic of green, a couple weeks ago, I was in Mexico and I visited my new favorite yarn store in Puerto Vallarta. And I'm going to pronounce the name really poorly. I am learning Spanish, but not there yet. La Estambraria. I'm sorry if you're Spanish and that sounded terrible. And so it's a beautiful yarn shop in the Versailles neighborhood in Puerto Vallarta, if anybody knows that place. And when I was there at Christmas time, I filmed a short little video of my experience going to the store, just a little reel, and posted it on my Instagram. And then when I was back a couple weeks ago, the owner recognized me and she was so sweet. She profusely thanked me for creating that video, and she said that no one had ever done something so nice for her business. She gave me a big hug. It just was like so heartwarming, and just goes to show that just something little like that, you don't know how it could affect another person. So I mean, I wasn't even thinking. I was just doing my thing, like just excited about yarn shopping, and found this wonderful store and just wanted to share it with other people. And she was so appreciative and so sweet. And so when I was in the store, I picked up, I don't know what to do with it yet. This is typical me. I am not a planner. So when you guys see, like when we talk about acquisitions, you'll also see that sometimes I can be impulsive and buy things that I don't necessarily have a plan for. And this is maybe one of those things, but I loved the color. So this is a Katia yarn as well, but this is a cotton yarn. And cotton's not always my favorite to crochet or knit with, probably for the same reason as silk. It's a little bit harder on the hands too, I find. But look at this color, right? And then I was just in a summery mood I'm kind of matches me today, doesn't it? I was in a summery mood in Mexico too. So I was feeling like, yeah, cotton yarn, you could make something cute and crochet out of it. Of course, I only picked up one ball, so I'm kind of limited to what I can make with it. So I could make a cute little crop top, or I was thinking maybe a little headband or something like that. I'm not sure yet, but I'm excited to use it, and it actually feels really lovely. So I think that that could be a fun summer project. What else do I have? This is very recent. This literally came in the mail today. I finally bought knit blockers. This is so embarrassing because the amount of granny squares I've done without these is ridiculous. And it's one of those things where you're spending all your money on yarn or new needles because you're new to the craft, and then you're just like, you can't spring for like the thing that you really need the most. And so finally I just ordered it. It came in the mail today. I ended up getting the Knitter's Pride ones because I bought them for my friend for her birthday last year, and I know she likes them. I know they don't rust. So I was like, okay, I'll get the same ones. So yeah, I'm opening them for the first time, so they look nice and fresh. They're just these little combs like this that you can use to block your pieces. I'm especially going to use them for granny squares, but I'm sure they'll come in handy for other projects as well. So that's just a little thing. What I've been doing without these is traditionally what I've done is I've used, this is actually a macrame board. Whoops, I'm stuck to it. So this is a macrame board with little T-pins in it. And so I just use it to find the size of the square I want. So right now I'm using 4-inch squares. So for this, it would be 10 by 10 in terms of the number of little centimeter blocks here. And so, yeah, I've just kind of done the corners, but then sometimes you get that puckering where it's not a perfect square. And you may have even noticed that when I was holding up my squares. They are blocked, but they're not perfect. Oh, this one looks really wonky. But do you see how it has like a little puckering there? That's probably from where the pin was holding it in the middle. And usually when you sew it together and then you block everything in the end, it doesn't matter, but I just know that I'll be more precise and it'll just be nicer to have everything perfect. So I'm really excited about trying those out with future granny squares. And then it's not such a recent acquisition, but because this is my first time really filming this podcast, I thought I would talk about a fairly recent acquisition, I think about 6 weeks ago. I decided, so my first set of knitting needles, I got the Chiagoo complete set. Let me grab them here. This guy here. And I think I was really lucky because I had such good friends in my life that steered me in the right direction in the beginning, where they recommended interchangeable needles. They recommended Chiagoo because they're nice to work with, and their cords, I like their cords a lot. They don't get all messed up. So I think I was fortunate that I avoided being new to the craft and buying a whole bunch of crappy needles, you know, and like hodgepodge of stuff, instead of just getting the good stuff. If you know you're going to, obviously, like if you've got the money to spend on it and you know that you are going to be doing this craft for a long time, I know myself, I know that, like I said, if I commit to something, I'm gonna do it. So I just got these needles, and I'm so happy because it means that no matter what project I want to do on a whim, I've got what I need for it. So I loved them so much. And then I wanted to do a sock knitting class, and in the next video I'll show you guys the socks that I made. I'm not going to show you today because right now they're actually in the wash, and so I need to lay them flat to dry. Yeah, I threw them in the wash. I'm crazy like that. They are super wash merino, but anyway, they're in the wash right now, so I'll show you in an upcoming episode. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so I got into sock knitting, and I took a sock knitting class at my local store called String Theory. It's a yarn shop here in Fergus, and I loved it. I loved my instructor. I loved the class. It was a quick little 4-week class in February. And so when I was looking into, okay, what method do I want to knit my socks on? Do I want to do DPNs? Do I want to do magic loop? Or do I want to do shorties? Everybody I talked to said magic loop. I just felt in my heart of hearts that I would love shorties. So I didn't take anyone's advice, and I bought this shorty set. And in my sock knitting class, we were doing it on worsted weight yarn just to speed up the process so you could actually get a pair done pretty quickly. So I bought the blue set, which for people that don't know, it comes in a US 4, which is 3.5 millimeter, to a US 8, which is 5 millimeter. And it comes in a 2-inch and a 3-inch length. And yeah, I used this for the sock knitting class and loved it. I was right. I like working with tiny needles. I have tiny hands, so it didn't bother me. I know some people say it hurts their hands, and if you were doing it for a long time, I could see that. But honestly, I love them. So then I was like, well, I need to now knit, you know, smaller actual sock yarn socks. So then I got these. So I got the smaller set too. Knowing that I loved the shorties. Now, since then, for the magic loopers out there, I will say that I now do appreciate magic loop a lot. I use them for when I get down to the toe to do my toe decreases, because so far I've only knit socks from top down. I have not knit toe up. Maybe that's for a future time, but I got this set here, which also again comes in 2 and 3-inch length, and it comes in a size 0 US, which is 2 millimeters, up to a size 3 US, which is 3.25. So now I feel like I probably, I mean, maybe not, but I probably own like every single needle that I will ever need for my whole entire life, hopefully. I mean, I know there's other things out there. I have some chunky ones too that are downstairs in my studio, so I don't have them to show you, but I have what I need. So that was an exciting purchase that I have already used a lot. So for me, shorties all the way. I love them. Okay, so now I want to talk about my finished objects and share with you guys some of the stuff I've been working on recently. So I'll talk about one that, I mean, everybody has probably made this scarf at this point, so this is not revolutionary, but this is the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. It has a little bit of a story to it because I was never going to make this scarf. and I love it. I love it. I feel like it taught me a lot. It taught me how to do a proper I-cord edge, and it taught me how to, I don't know, be careful with my pattern repetitions in terms of it's like an 8-row repeat. And it's actually really, really simple once you get the hang of it. And if you're an experienced knitter, you'd be like breezy, easy. But for me, again, learning all of these things, I had a hard time with actually like following along with the pattern and being like, am I on 7 or 6? Like, what row am I on? And then not being able to count it properly. I don't know. I got the hang of it eventually though, and I think it turned out really nice. And I'm using the knitting for olive merino, so fingering weight merino held together with soft silk mohair, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Now the story behind it is, I didn't put this in the WIP category, and it's not a finished object, but it's connected to this. So I didn't intend to make this. I was going to with this color yarn, which I love, which, what is it called? This one's called Rose Clay. If you watched my last video, my first video on this channel, I did a trip to the Knitting Loft in Toronto, which is the most beautiful store ever. And I bought a whole bunch of knitting for olive yarns for my birthday. And this particular batch here of this rose clay, which is a beautiful muted rose brownie, gorgeous color. It was supposed to be for one of my Knitting for Olive patterns in the Knitting for Olive book. Sorry, I'm crunching so much here. I talked about this book in the last video as well, if you want to check that out. I wasn't ready for it. The patterns were hard. They're hard. Like, if you're a good knitter, this is great. If you're new, this is a beautiful book, but maybe not ready for it yet. So if that's for me, anyway, that's just me. So I struggled. I was so excited to make the vest. What is the vest called? It's the vest that's in the book. I was so proud of myself. I did such a beautiful job on the ribbing, and it's like a double fold and then you attach it. And I was so proud of myself that I figured out how to do that. And then I started looking at it and I was like, ooh, okay, there's some mistakes. I purled where I wasn't supposed to, or I knit where okay, it's not perfect. Like, if you look at it carefully, there's definitely some weirdnesses there, but I was okay with living with that. And then I was learning how to do short rows for the first time ever on the shoulders, and they look really cool actually. Again, didn't know what I was doing. I don't even think I had a super good grasp of how to do make one left, make one right at this point. And so I think I just wasn't, at a stage where I was ready to take on this project. It was too many new things all happening at once. And then I got to a point where, I don't know, I've kind of mentally put this away. I put it away in a literal bag, but I want to say I've like put it away in my mind as well. So I can't even 100% tell you what went wrong, but something went very terribly wrong. And then I started ripping it back. And then I was like, I don't know where I am in this pattern, because there's so much to this pattern that like, I don't know, I don't even know how to fix it. So at this point, it needs to be frogged. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna fix this. And it's too bad, because I did a fair amount on it. I loved working with the two yarns held together. It's beautiful. Do I love ripping that out? No, I don't like ripping that out. So I haven't. And I'm almost going to be a terrible person and think I might never rip that out. And maybe I just might need to buy more yarn if I need it. I don't know. I'm just not mentally there yet. So I have this left. So I have 2 full balls of merino, a full ball of soft silk mohair, and then an almost full ball of soft silk mohair. And so I could maybe do something with this, or maybe buy an extra ball and maybe tackle that vest now that I feel more experienced. I feel like I could go back to that pattern with the knowledge I've learned even in just a short period of time, and I feel like I would be way more confident doing it. So it's a learning lesson, and I know not everything is going to work out, but that was a tough one for me because I think I was really excited about it. Another one, I'm going to talk about all my sad ones first and then we'll get to a good one. Another sad project for me is it's not that sad actually, I shouldn't say that. Knitting wise, mwah. Yarn wise, beautiful. Color choices, no. So I got 2 beautiful yarns from the Wandering Flock. Very obsessed with the Wandering Flock. I feel like their colors, like Knitting for Olive, are just, they're made for me. I love them. And so one of them is caked up over here because it's got a story to it. Now they're caked up right now, so you can't appreciate just how beautiful they were in their skeins, but these were the 2. So my idea, and even here, that looks beautiful. My idea was to do La Bien Aimée's, what do they call it? Bandana. It's just a simple bandana, very close to the Sophie scarf in some ways, but more knit rather than garter. But with an I-cord edge, super relaxing, easy knit, very appropriate to my skill level. This is actually half the bandana. I finished it. I made a big version. I made a biggie. It was supposed to be half this color and half this color. And do you guys see how I could have made that mistake? I thought I was a genius. I thought, yeah, why wouldn't I want this beautiful fluorescent pink next to this muted pink that has fluorescent flecks through it? Well, I hated it. And I have one sad picture of it that I'll put up in this video so you can judge for yourself, but it looked really bad next to each other, which is so weird because they're both beautiful yarns. So I'm just gonna use this for something else. But this was just sitting in a sad bag like the Knitting for Olive vest. And then my friend came over just 2 days ago, Saturday. And I said to her, can you take it apart for me? She's my support person. And so while I wasn't looking, she took my ball winder and she unraveled this bad boy out of this scarf for me. And then, bless her soul, she finished a little I-cord edge for me along this edge. It's not the same as the other ones, but I don't even care because what it means is my previous just sad knit that I wouldn't wear because I thought it was ugly, now, okay, it can be its own little thing. So now I think it's just gonna be a mini bandana. Yeah. Not what I intended, but I think it's kind of cute. I actually wore it yesterday to a family event and wore it with an all black outfit and I thought it was pretty cute. So that was a happy disaster. So I love when that happens in any kind of art form where, you know, as Bob Ross would say, like happy accidents, that's the saying, right? Where you could take something bad and make it into something good. So now I've got options. I still have this yarn, which I still think is beautiful. It just didn't look good together. I might actually make socks out of it. That could be really cool, but I will figure that out. So that is what happened with the Bien Aimee scarf. And I would recommend the pattern for a new knitter because it taught you some nice I-cord edging skills, but it wasn't so difficult and you don't have to, unlike the Sophie scarf, you don't have to do any kind of like repeats where basically it's just 2 repeats, right? You're either on the knit side or you're on the purl side. So it was easy. Whereas this is like 8 different things to keep track of. So this I would recommend first before doing this, if you're new. On the scarf bandwagon, this is from, when did I finish this? It's not super new, but I'm just gonna show you guys things. I figure anything in the last like 6 months is fair game, right? This is my Wiener Dog scarf. Wiener Dog scarf, do you see it? That's his tail, that's his bum. And then it's long, 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 and that's his head. And isn't it cute? And it's made from a local yarn. Her name is Gravity Fibers. She hand dyes her beautiful merino wool. And this is what the scarf looks like on. I'm wearing a lot of green today. This green does not go with my outfit, but it's cute, right? And it's just crocheted. And I was proud of myself because it's one of the bigger projects I've done where I've done like a 2-color crochet. And I actually added this to the pattern. I just thought, you know what, it needs a little something. So I had some leftover yarn with the green and I was like, I'm gonna add some little baubles, little fringe. And I think it's pretty cute. I think it's a conversation scarf, you know, where people all of a sudden notice. They're like, wait, is that a wiener dog on your scarf? And I'm like, yes, it is a wiener dog on my scarf. So yeah, scarf heavy, I know. One last thing to show you. Made this while I was in Mexico. And I love it. It is my own design, if you're gonna call it that. It's my own pattern. I made it up. I basically crocheted a circular bottom. So, and then kind of started to decrease to when I got it the shape of the bag. And it's crocheted up to this point, and then it's knit up to the top. So half crochet, half knit. This is my first mixing of crochet and knitting together. So that was really exciting for me. And so because of that, I think it holds a special place in my heart. And it's made with some really special yarns. It's made with some yarns from my favorite local yarn shop here in Fergus, String Theory. And then it's made with my favorite local yarn shop in Puerto Vallarta, La Estambería. I'm probably saying that wrong. And so it's a combination of Canadian and Mexican yarns, yay, mixed together. And I think it's so cute as a little bucket bag. And I picked this little pom-pom up, which are sold all over Puerto Vallarta. So I thought it looked cute with the bag. And if you can see on camera, I'm not sure, but some of the yarn I picked up has a bit of a sparkle in it, which is also new for me. I normally wouldn't put necessarily something sparkle in a garment, but I think in a bag it's super cute. Some of the yarn is matte and fluffy, some of it is shiny. It's just like all over the place. Some of it has like a color changing variegation. Some of it I just changed the color myself. I got really creative. Like I just kind of went wild with it. So even this row here, for example, is like half green, half pink. That was actually 2 different yarns too. It wasn't a color changing yarn, and this is what it looks like. So it's a very versatile bag. I've actually used it a lot, and I kind of want to make more of them, and it fits everything I need. And then when I got home, I made it while on vacation actually, so it was a literal vacation bag. And then when I got home, I sewed in a little lining. And the lining wasn't 100% necessary because the bag was actually pretty functional without it. But the lining does improve it in my opinion, because especially if I want to use it as a bag to throw in some crochet or some knitting, now stuff isn't going to fall through, like needles or scissors, I can just toss them in the bag. So it's 100% cotton lining and kind of a pinky shade. And it was pretty easy just to quickly sew that in with my sewing machine. So I tried to do a very small little edging just below where the draw cord is. And it also provides a bit more structure to the bag too. So I actually think the bag looks a little nicer with the edging in. The only thing I would change is probably the strap length. So you can see I've been wearing it with a loop because the strap does stretch quite a bit, and I should have known better because I know that from other straps I've made, even on tank tops before, where I've had to readjust them because of the natural stretch that happens over time, especially if you're using your bag a lot and you're storing a lot of heavier things in it, it's gonna stretch. So if I were to do it again, I would shorten the straps. I could easily do that now. I just have been lazy. I could take, part of the crochet apart and just put it back together. So I might eventually do that. And might improve the strap too for a future iteration as well. It's a little bit scrappy looking, but I kind of don't mind that too. Like it goes thick and thin at some points. You can tell it's well loved. It's got a little bit of fuzziness on it, but I think it kind of adds to the cute boho chic kind of style of it. So this was a project that just made me happy. I think I'm happiest with like free flowing things. Rather than, I think that's one of the reasons why I maybe avoided knitting for a time period in my life where like I mentioned before, I tried it in the past and kind of gave up on it. I think the mathematical nature of knitting didn't appeal to my brain personally, but I'm getting better with that and following a pattern. It's a learning process. It's kind of like learning a language in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, but this just made me happy, brought me a lot of joy. So I want to do something like this. I've decided with having on my hook or my needle to have like a more free-flowing project that's just like brainless for me. I think would be a good thing to have. So, okay, whew, I'm getting hot wearing this scarf, which is a good sign because spring is coming. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope that, you've enjoyed watching kind of what I've been up to. If this is a format that you like, just in terms of sharing about making projects, or what tools are out there, what kind of yarn you might acquire, things like that. I was thinking of making this kind of a little bit more regular occurrence. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you enjoyed about this episode and what you would like to see more of. And maybe if you've got a great pattern that you could recommend, kind of that perfect pattern for somebody who is new to knitting, but not too new. It's got to be something that keeps you engaged, but so you're not completely bored, but not too intense that it's going to be frustrating. That unicorn pattern. If you got a unicorn pattern for me, I would love to hear about it because I'm crazy and I need another project apparently to cast on. So let me know. Okay. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.